So I see some of the critics who rated Zack Snyder's movie speaking about his singularity or the singularity of his movie, meaning the vision of the movie is the director's and solely the director's. It's not consensus by committee or multiple visions. It's singular. What you see on the screen is Zack Snyder's work, undisputably. How he sees the movie, how he views the movie. And today, in movie making, we have a lot of compromise between studios and directors. And there's a constant to and froing and a constant battle, particularly because studios want to have a formula whereby they can sell tickets to see their movies or sell viewings of the movie and also make commerce off the movie rapidly. Rapidly. So there's a lot of studio interference, and I mean, the last couple of Warner Brothers DC movies have had a lot of studio interference. There's no doubt about that. When I look at the type of movies that Warner Brothers Pictures are making, I am somewhat disappointed that they have no material for people like myself. Yusuf Al Dullah Jan. Yusuf, I'm just going to call you Yusuf. Uh, Yusuf says the Snyder Cut, the same movie but longer, so it is made by committee. Not quite sure what you're saying, but I think you're saying that you think the Snyder Cut is the same movie as the theatrical cut, the Whedonized cut, but longer. I tend to disagree. Unfortunately, Yusuf, I don't share your opinion. I believe that the Snyder Cut is a completely different movie to the Whedon cut. There are similar plot beats. If you want to say that a movie is the same because it begins the same, it ends the same, and parts of the middle are kind of the same, then I would agree with you there. But no, I disagree with you that the Snyder Cut is anything like the Whedonized cut. I think they are two separate movies with two distinct, separate visions. Now, let me explain myself, and this is why I said that Snyder's movie is a singularity. It has a singular purpose, whereas the theatrical cut we got was some kind of committee, mixed purpose, mixed vision movie. It was a compromise movie. Let me explain. So, in storytelling, yes, you need to look at the plot of the story, but also in storytelling, you have to look at the context for the plot of the story, what we call motivations of characters. When we look at the motivations of the characters in Zack Snyder's Justice League, they have completely different motivations for what they're doing versus the characters in the theatrical Whedonized version. Let me give you an example. Cyborg, okay? Cyborg in the Whedonized version of Justice League. His motivation for joining the Justice League comes out of him deciding to save or to protect his father. Okay? And as a result of him, if I'm not mistaken, in that version, I'm trying to remember now the theatrical version where the mother box was. The mother box was not in their house. That's one. We don't know where the mother box was, but we know Cyborg retrieved the mother box. I don't know where the mother box was, but We don't know where Cyborg retrieved the mother box. He had it, apparently. But when we look at the motivation in the Snyder Cut for why Cyborg actually joins the Justice League, it is not just because he's going to get his father, but it is because he realizes that his father is more than just the disagreements between them. His father actually is helping him to learn who he is. Okay. Now, in the first version, which would be the theatrical version, it's just simply because his father was kidnapped, and as such, he wants to find his father. Okay, and the other scientists that accompany him. In the second one, his father is integral to him knowing who he is and his capabilities. And you must remember, Cyborg was instructed through the recording as to what he was capable of doing. And so it's not just that he goes back for his father because it's his father, but he goes back because he realizes his father is significant in helping him to solve his problems. And as we see later on in the movie, how integral his father is and how strategic his father is in his life, we see that his motivation, the motivation for Cyborg, is that he understands his father has a significant role in his life, whether in presence or in absence. As a result, I do not believe that this is the same movie because the motivation of the characters, we go to Flash. We go to Flash. In the theatrical version, the Flash he joins the team because he needs friends, and that's all we know. You know, he's alone, he needs friends. This is what he's saying. In the Snyder Cut version, even though the Flash says, I need friends as well, we see from his backstory that it is really he needs help and assistance and guidance in the direction he needs to go. So it's not just that he needs friends, but he needs assistance and guidance in the way he needs to go. It is a much deeper reason. We know this from the two scenes before, where, and later on in the film, where we see one, that the Flash himself is interested in Iris West, however, does not want to reveal himself to Iris West, and he tries to get out of it after saving her because he has these abilities, which we don't know how he got them, but he has them. We learn later on that he's holding on to his father because that is all he has in the world, his father. Now, that was sort of expressed in a very small way in the theatrical cut. However, its significance becomes more significant in the Snyder cut because his father speaks to him from prison, and we go straight to that. We're not distracted by, the weird stuff that went in the Whedon cut with some guy who was trying to bully or whatever. No, we are focused in and dialed in on his relationship with his father, and that he's holding on to his father and he wants to see his father freed, not because only he knows his father has been done dirty, but also because he longs to have his father with him, to get guidance, to have friendship. That is his friend in the world. He's a very friendly guy. The Flash is a very talkative, friendly guy. We see that when we're introduced to him. However, he has no way to reveal his true self and to share his true self with anyone. And he shares himself with his father. It burdens upon him to save his father. That is all he has. That's his only family. So when we get to the point where he is met by Batman, and Batman reveals himself to Flash, Flash more than readily jumps at it, and he immediately embraces Batman. Immediately. And not only that, he keeps the Batarang as memorabilia. And throughout the movie, we see him overwhelmed by the fact that he is around people like himself who he can relate to. So that is a very, and it's not very humorously done like how Josh Whedon does, and over the top done. No, this is the reason why Flash. And if you listen throughout the movie, you will realize Bruce Wayne and Henry Allen, their voices are remembered by Flash continuously, and he takes note of their words. Bruce Wayne tells Flash, you need to go faster than you've ever gone in your life. And at that pivotal, key, critical moment in the movie when he really needed to come up and save the world, Batman's words are the first thing that come out of his mouth, Bruce Wayne's words. And then the second set of words that come out of his mouth are his father's words. His father told him, you're the best of the best, Henry. The best of the best, Barry. That's the first word came out of it. And the second thing he said was, stop living in your past. Make your own future. Make your own future. And he does that. He says, make your own future. Make your own past. It all starts now. This is what is pivotal to the development of the Flash in Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is lacking and missing completely in the Whedon cut. And so this is where we ask ourselves, what's the relevance of Flash in this movie? One, he's not really involved in any of the scenes where he's helping the Justice League. He's always a comical moment, even against Superman. He had nothing he actually contributed to that scene. He had nothing that he contributed to the third act of Justice League. I think one or two moments he cleared out some parademons for Cyborg, but by and large he did nothing. In the entire movie, he was just comic relief. He raised Superman. He was the comic relief in the entire of the Justice League movie. Again, completely different movie, completely different Flash, completely different relevance. Yes, we share one or two scenes in the movie. We had the Batman, the Bruce Wayne revealing himself to Flash scene, which was really Zack Snyder's scene that they kept in the movie. But the context of the Flash and the relevance of the Flash in this movie, in the theatrical cut, absolutely, was just comic relief for the theatrical cut. Whereas in the actual Snyder cut, it's a coming of age. It's a rebirth. It's a coming of age of this character because he has the nutrients and the people around him. All right. So it's an absolutely different movie. I don't agree that it's the same movie. And I'll give you another illustration. Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman. That movie. That again, relevance, and again, the motivation in the theatrical cut. The motivation for Diana going up against Steppenwolf or going to find the mother boxes wasn't because she knew of it before Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne knew about those mother boxes from the Lex Luthor notes, right? He actually got access to Lex Luthor's notes. He actually knew that an attack was coming. He actually knew that the invaders were there already. It wasn't Wonder Woman who discovered this stuff. It wasn't Wonder Woman who understood the significance. Up to now, we don't know the significance of the arrow. All she knew, Wonder Woman knew after Batman, Bruce Wayne, that an invasion was coming. She knew it after Bruce Wayne knew about the invasion, right? Bruce Wayne actually encountered a parademon in the theatrical cut. Now listen to me. It's about motivation. Now Diana's motivation for an attack, on on the world was because she saw on the TV the arrow of Artemis in in uh the temple of the Amazons. Okay, she never went to the temple. She never investigated anything. None of that. Okay, we don't even know how she knew the history lesson. Okay, we knew none of this. It's all detached. But what we did know was that she knew there was an attack coming. I mean, attack that was there. However, Bruce Wayne knew that there were parademons on Earth. Bruce Wayne knew that the three mother boxes were significant. Okay, he knew all of that already, and he was trying to get the different members of the team. What this means is that Diana was not a pivotal piece in the story to revealing to Bruce Wayne that the attack is there already and it's in progress and how far it has progressed. And also, she was not as emotionally attached to that attack based on the fact that she did not directly go collect the arrow of Artemis and go and read the instructions on the arrow, which told her to where to go, and investigate herself and find out what was really going on. Okay. Now, why this is important to understand is because motivations of characters are what shape story. Story is made up of plot elements. It is made up of motivations of the different characters, and over and large, it is also a story is also accompanied by flow. Yusuf said, still made to sell a streaming service, still a committee. Yusuf is trying to argue that the streaming service, which is HBO Max, is a committee. This movie was not made by committee, my friend. It's being streamed on a service, just like how I am using YouTube, but I am saying my thoughts. These are not influenced by YouTube. Okay? The streaming service does not dictate what kind of movie Zack Snyder makes. And therefore, Yusuf, that is a totally different thing. And as I said before, the critics verify what I'm saying. They said that Zack Snyder's movie was singular. You knew it was a Zack Snyder movie. So to try to debate this point is pointless. Yusuf says, but the characters are better in the Snyder Cut than they are in Justice League. The only reason the characters are better is because their motivations are much more crystallized. And not only are their motivations more crystallized, but their motivations are different. This is what I'm trying to tell you. It's different to the motivations of the theatrical cut. Now, once again, let me make this clear statement to everyone. And if you like what you're seeing, don't forget to smash the like button. It's there for a reason. If you came to combat with me, that's okay as well. But if you enjoyed this experience with me, please, by all means, hit the like button, share. So let me continue. The characters feel better. Again, all you have to do, but don't do it. But if you want to, I'm not going to do it. Oh, I was going to say to you guys before I go to that point that I enjoyed the theatrical cut of Justice League. I was one of the people who was defending that movie. Go back and look at my videos. I defended the Russian family. I said it was Zach's vision. I said that the Flash reminded me of humorous parts of Zach. All right. So first and foremost, before you think that somehow, some way, I am just here to discount the theatrical cut or whatever. No. I enjoyed the theatrical cut. I went and watched it 10 times. I defended it vehemently. I formed a group on Facebook, Justice League Unite. Okay? So when I tell you that this cut is not the same movie as the theatrical cut, I know what I'm saying. It's not the same movie. And it was not made by committee. Clearly it wasn't made by committee because it's definitely Zack Snyder's movie through and through. Even though Warner Brothers Pictures did not want Zack Snyder to do every single thing that he wanted to do in this movie, and he had to actually just go ahead and do it, let me make it abundantly clear that this was his movie, unapologetically. Unlike the Whedon cut, which was Whedon's influence on the movie, though they tried to keep elements that Zack had, but they reshot quite a lot of the movie, and that's why I said, as much as the movie might, there may be, areas in the movie that remind you of the theatrical cut because you remember the scenes, though the context of the scenes is completely different, and the motivations of the characters are different. Um, you will think it's the same movie, but it's not. It's not the same movie at all. It's not a movie that has been beefed up and extended. No, this is a totally different movie. It is a totally different movie. And that's because the vision that the director had was a different vision. And the way how the movie ends tells you that. One of the ways you can know a movie is different by the way it begins, yes, then the middle of it, and then how it ends. If you look at how this movie begins, it begins with the death of Superman. Okay? When you look at the theatrical cut, it begins with Batman. Right? It begins with Batman. And then after Batman, it begins with the death of Superman. And no, actually, wait, hold on. I got it wrong. It begins three ways. It has three introductions. It begins first, if I'm not mistaken, it begins with a little child interviewing Superman. They begin in the past when Superman was alive, and they establish hope. And then it continues on, I believe, with Superman's with Batman apprehending a parademon. He was trying to catch a bandit, and then he apprehends a parademon, which blows up and kills itself, commits suicide, right? And coincidentally has three mother boxes prints on the wall. And then it goes to the death of Superman. Okay, so, and it doesn't go to the actual death of Superman. It goes to the consequences on the world with Superman's death, right? Okay, so that is how Joss Whedon pans the intro of that movie. Now, when you look at the intro of the Snyder Cut, it is a completely different intro. It continues off of Batman v Superman. Now, the reason why that's important to understand is because there's connective tissue. Zack Snyder has connective tissue from Man of Steel to Batman v Superman, now from Batman v Superman to Justice League. There's connective tissue there. And there was a significance to that, which I went into great detail about why Zack Snyder began the movie with Superman and his death. Great significance. The movie also ends differently. And I'm not talking about the epilogue part, which is also good. And it's a completely different epilogue. It's completely different ending there. But I'm talking about the actual ending, the third act of the movie. The third act of the movie is a completely different third act. In fact, forget all that. The middle of the movie, Steppenwolf, his lair, the parademons, what he's talking about, his relationships with Darkseid, his relationship with Zod, his relationships to the parademons, his relationships with the other parts of the world is completely different to anything we have seen in the theatrical cut. It's just completely different. Here or there in Atlantis, you see, overlap of scenes, similar scenes, but the context behind them is different. And so that's what I'm talking about. That's why I said it's a totally different movie. You will see certain scenes in the movie that Zack shot, which Whedon used, right? And so you say, oh, look parts of the theatrical cut there. But the context behind it is totally different. So here's the way how you know a movie is different. You look at how it ends. It ends differently. It begins differently. Okay, even the middle portion of the movie with the Superman versus the Justice League and the mother box scenes, all that connective tissue is different. It's different. Yes, Superman still fights the League. Yes, the mother box is still ultimately taken by Steppenwolf. But those two plot points are there, right? But in terms of the motivation for why How Steppenwolf takes the mother box and his motivation for taking the mother box and the motivation for protecting the mother box and the motivation by Silas Stone of marking the mother box, etc., etc., etc. It's just all different. It's just a different play out. It's a different characters. It's a different setup. It's not the same story. That's like me saying animals with 4 legs are all dogs. That's not true. Yeah, they have 4 legs. But this animal here is a cat. That animal there is a lizard. That animal there is a frog. Just because they have 4 legs doesn't make them all dogs. It's not the same story. Similarly, there are some beats which are overlap, but it's not the execution of the beats, the motivation for the beats, the background of the beats is totally different. The direction the beats are going in is totally different. So it's not the same story. You may see familiar things in the story because Zach shot scenes that were used in the theatrical cut, but it's not the same story. So, I just wanted to say that. Yusuf says the song choices don't need to be there. I disagree. And what I would suggest to you, again, I don't know if you paid for this movie or if you've even seen it, or even if you have seen it. I will give you an example of why I believe the choices are what they are. And again, a singularity. It's not by committee. See, when movies are done by committee, they become somewhat predictable. And audiences feel this does not fit here and that doesn't fit there. Because now it's a director's vision. It's a singular vision. I've heard a number of people tell me, oh, the music, man, you could do better music for Zack Snyder's movie than I'm like, no. Because all the songs have context. Okay? All the songs have context. The song when Louis Lane is coming out from the coffee shop to go to the police officer to go view the memorial where Superman is. Where Superman, is remembered. That song fits that piece. It's very tender. It's very gentle. Right? It says, the words are, let us go, my darling companion. Right? It's a very sweet song. They said that the gods would outlive us. They said that our dreams would outlive us, but they lied. That's the song. That's how Louis feels. It reminds me of The Matrix, where Persephone says to Trinity, you have true love, but it does not last. It's tragic. It's a tragedy. That song fits there. The second song I would talk about is The Flash. It's an action scene, right? But it's influenced by emotion. Excuse me for a second. You have to understand, when Lewis was going to the, and that's the scene I cried at, actually. I cried because it really had an impact on me. And it reminded me of my mother. It reminded me of my ex. It reminded me of my dad. It reminded me of my grandmother. It's called love. And to know these people loved you, and this is why you are where you are, is something that I'm grateful for, and yet I'm very sad because I miss them. So, the song choices, though not by committee, so not predictable, not what you would expect, but novel, putting a stamp on Zack Snyder's way of doing things, is what makes this movie so personal. He lost Autumn, his daughter, the one that took after him. Creative, beautiful, wonderful young lady, but suffering from depression, never understanding her full worth, and at times in deep contemplation and sorrow, contemplating her own life. That's what you're feeling in this movie. Some people say it's dour what Zack Snyder's doing. No, it's his daughter. Why can't you not feel it? It's his daughter, his love for his daughter. You're feeling in this movie. That's 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 what makes me cry. So I totally felt those songs as somebody who writes music. I really felt it. So anyway, it's a very emotional movie. It reminds me of Wonder Woman. How Patty got us to feel something in there. It's a beautiful movie. When I saw Cyborg watch his father die, it reminded me of holding my mother in my arms as she died. It's something that just cuts me to the core. I'm a very emotional person, so I felt something when I looked at the Icelandic woman singing. I don't know what they were singing, but the intensity of the singer had almost a disparaging look in her face as Aquaman left. You could see her indebtedness, her gratefulness. And yes, you can make a meme out of it about about him bringing them fish. That could mean so many different things. But I went back and looked at Icelandic songs. The call to the cows. It sounds funny, but they have these songs and hymns that Icelandic people sing about things that really matter to them. So them writing a song to him, I still want to find out what that song was saying, because Zach gave it a good portion, and Junkie XL gave it a good portion of time in the movie, and I'm asking myself, what does that mean? you know, you know what I like about Zach? Zach is a guy that will make you say, "What the hell?" What the hell is he talking about? And he sort of gets you curious and interested. I'm going to look at his stuff a lot more. Be like, what is this dude thinking? Why did you put that there? Now we understand why he put the nightmare scene where he put it in Batman v Superman. It was part of Bruce's psyche, as well as was part of Flash imprinting on Bruce the future. Which is why Bruce even tried to muster together a Justice League. You remember he said, when Wonder Woman said, "What makes you think that we'll need to fight together?" He said, just a feeling. But it wasn't just a feeling. You have to, even the song with the Flash is running to save Iris West. Beautiful song, talking about somebody who was drifting along in life and then captivated by this other person. You guys have had this, whether it's puppy love or where you've met somebody and you kind of get this intuition that you're going to be doing something more with them. Whether it is they're going to be your wife, spouse, ex, whatever. You're interested in the person, and the person looks back at you, and so they're trying to captivate this sort of puppy love kind of thing between Iris West and Barry Allen. And the song is fitting for that time. It's fitting. Yeah, it's an action sequence. And you would expect action, right? And you would expect it. And a lot of people ask, why does Zack Snyder use slow-mo?
Okay. So if you were to not use slow mo in that period of time, and you're not trying to go for comic relief, you're not trying to show how fast the guy really is. So Zach wasn't about capturing how fast Barry Allen was. He wanted it to be about Barry Allen's fixation with Iris West, prompting him to want to save her. The motivation here was not look at his powers and how fast he is. That's cool. But it's about how he used his powers for what he was interested in. He had just had a moment with this young lady, and he got a second moment with her just before the moment when she crashed. And she most certainly would have been thrown from the vehicle and died. Ash and he moved in what we would call a flash of a second. And the word flash is redundant. It's redundant in the entire action sequence, right? Because one, he's quick like a flash of lightning. Two, he's literally moving like a flash of lightning. And three, their eyes flashed at one another, and it can go on and on about the Flash puns. Okay, we could just go forever on Flash. He's like a flash photograph. It's like a flash photographic flash of potential. Blah 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 blah. So Zack Snyder is couching these things in pictures, in flash pictures, like a moving comic. I don't know if you guys ever watched WB. What do you call it? Beyond the WB or something like that, which is these comic book characters and they're moving them. It's still animations, but they're moving the still animations. Zach captures those visual images. Our minds capture things in images, not necessarily motion images, but flash images. We take snapshots. And Zach understands that. And Zach mentally imprints images in your mind. And even the way how the dialogue in these movies by Chris Terrio is done, they're memorable dialogue. If you align yourself with the dialogue, you know, instantaneously without ever having rehearsed it in your head, you can verbatim say the dialogue. It's that kind of movie. Okay? So this movie is different. It's an emotional attachment or emotional connection that Barry Allen has with Iris West that prompts him. This scene is slow, it's balletic, it's almost romantic, even though it's violent. And Zach is capturing these elements in that violence. Okay, so that's why that choice of music is used. Another choice of music that was really strange to some people was "There Was a King." That song, when Aquaman is walking away from the seaside pub, which, by the way, the sea's very rough, and the sea's actually coming into the pub when he opens the door. It's a very violent situation. But Zach takes that moment to highlight this man's destiny, as well as to highlight the tragedy in the destiny. Again, very Shakespearean tragedy in destiny. Let me explain. So the lyrics of the song go something like, "The sky above us," right? Um, what does it say? The sky above us. Maybe I should go look at it, all right? But basically, it's saying above and then where we are at. Oh, it is the sky above us, uh, the world inside us, something like that. There is a kingdom, there is a king without us, or outside of us, and within. That's the song. All right. Now, it's a very deep song. It's a very deep song because it's talking about mastering yourself. And the mastery of yourself happens within, but is seen without. And for me as a Christian, I am reminded of kingdoms of kings and priests, interceders for others as one would pray for oneself. Let me make it much more clearer and much more simpler. Right now, you and I, we live in the world right now. And the world is how we perceive it. Therefore, it's a reflection of our minds because it's only through our lens that we can perceive something. So, therefore, we are gods in terms of how we control how we think about things and about the world, how we perceive things. And by having a kingdom inside of here, we see the world through that kingdom's lens. Therefore, we determine our destiny and no one else. Now, having said that, which is what that song is saying, Aquaman is at that point where he has to make a decision. He has to make a decision. And that's what that song is about. As he disappears into the wild, stormy sea, which, by the way, I liked because it reminded me of Jesus in the storm, walking towards his disciples on water. Peter jumping into the water and saved by Jesus. It felt like a ripped version of that story, the Aquaman story, how he rescued the sailor, etc. Leroy Kong says, Warner Brothers shouldn't wipe out the Snyderverse. Great live. Be strong. You too, my friend. You too, my friend. Yusuf says, I like the music, but I hate the songs. Yusuf says, anti-life equation. Oh, you like the anti-life equation. Yusuf says, Martian Manhunter shows up at the end. To me, it's a good movie. Needs sequels. Okay. Yusuf says, felt like he was setting up a sequel. No, not really. He wasn't really. The movie self-contained. It basically ends at the point at which the different Justice League members go their separate ways. Yes, there is the impending, dark side looking to come back, which is part of the story. But more or less, everything is calm now. So I don't see the story as trying to set up sequels because that's not what most of the movie was about. Most of the movie was about dealing with the threat at hand, and that threat was dealt with somewhere about 3 hours, and it was 3 hours 15 minutes in, the threat was dealt with. And then the epilogue now, which everything was interconnected, but the epilogue took another probably 45 minutes thereabouts. And the epilogue was basically about what happened with all the Justice League characters after these things had happened. And we see Diana, and she's there with the arrow looking out towards the sea. And of course, Cyborg's father is speaking as he's listening to the recording of the obligations that we have. You see Cyborg looking at his parents' graves, but he's smiling because they have sacrificed to put him in a position where he is today. Because of them, they're not perfect people. They didn't do perfect things. They screwed up with certain things. But like me, they put me in a position where I am today. My both parents are also dead and deceased. And so I can identify with that. And then we have, of course, and of course, Cyborg soars up into the sky. Again, the rising from the flames, the phoenix, the Phoenician sort of a phoenix, the firebird. And we see this a number of times, right? We see this when Cyborg brings to life the flying fox. He said he always wanted to fly, right? And you hear Bruce Wayne say to him, "You too." And the human nature of these characters is what I appreciate so much in Zack Snyder. I listen to a lot of reviews and they say, this is all about the gods and the gods and the gods, and that's absolutely not what Zack Snyder's about. He's not actually trying to capture the gods. He's trying to capture the humanity in these people who other people view as gods. He's giving you a character study from the perspective of the characters. Okay. Now, unlike BVS, where we heard the world's view of Superman, of which one of the antagonists in the story was Batman, who was the hero. You must be clear, and Man of Steel, we got the view of the world's view of Superman, even though it's a very personal thing. Also, we saw, well, mostly Superman's view of the world, right? We saw things from his lens. Here, we're seeing different people's backgrounds from different aspects of life. They're not all humans, but they're people. And this is beautiful because, see, I'll talk about that some other time. But yeah, people's backgrounds. And what's beautiful about it is, and this is why I love these kinds of movies, because they're really great tools to teach each other things, is that these people, we not only empathize with them, we can see things from their point of view. And now when they interface with each other, we're able to really fully grasp the evolution of their relationships with each other, forming a bond. At the end of Zack Snyder's Justice League, Arthur Curry appreciates Vulko, but you can still see that little resentment about the Atlanteans. He still has a certain resentment because he's been rejected in his mind by his mother, because he felt that she had not been there for him. She left him. She abandoned him, which Mira clarified to him, and we saw that also in the theatrical cut. But we learned more that it wasn't just Mira; it was Vulko, who had been committed to raising this boy in the absence of his mother. But again, we're seeing the absence of a lot in these movies, right? We see the absence of Cyborg's father. We see Wonder Woman, and her mother is absent from her. That was Wonder Woman's choice. We see Barry Allen, his father's absent from his life. He has a void there. Bruce Wayne's both parents are gone, and Alfred fills that void. Okay? Superman is voided. The world has lost their guide, the guide that they look to. Superman is absent from the world. Bruce Wayne has also lost Superman. People forget this. Bruce has lost somebody. He lost Superman. We see Lois Lane lost Superman. We see Martha Kent lost Superman. There's a lot of loss in this movie. So when I hear people say, well, these characters are mopey and whatever, this is real life, my friends. In real life, people lose people, especially more now than ever. With this COVID, somebody's lost somebody in their family. So who are we kidding? Why is it that we cannot have a world that's world? Why is that a drag? You would watch any other movie than a superhero movie, and you'd be okay with it. Joker did excellently as a movie. A broken person. But for some reason, that movie's okay. But when we do a superhero movie, and characters we all know about, and people feel, oh no, this doesn't fit that. Superheroes shouldn't be this mopey. Superheroes have no problems. They should be happy and gay all the time. That's stupid. That's what's unrelatable. So no, I don't feel like Zack Snyder was setting up a sequel. But at the end of the movie, you will want a sequel. You will want a sequel because the way how he put together the ending of the movie, the epilogue particularly, even though we saw some very scary things in the Kryptonian ship that Cyborg saw, that the ship revealed to him by downloading it into his head. Let me make it abundantly clear that was a possible future, which was averted, right? It was going to go that way if Flash didn't turn back time. So that's avoided, right? That was a possible future, but it's not anymore. At least not for now. But of course, the epilogue, the very last couple of scenes, which had to do with apocalyptic nightmare vision that Batman was going through, that was interesting. And again, it's a variation of what we saw in BVS. So it's very interesting that this time Batman is accumulating. And then from what the Joker said, it seems as though they've done this. They went through this apocalyptic version a number of times. You know, when Zack Snyder was in one of the conventions, in one of the convention centers, he said that um, that you know they asked which one of the portals should the Flash go through, and when he's running on the treadmill, and the Flash says this portal, and Batman says, "Okay, I'm gonna do the opposite portal because that means you chose that portal before, and it didn't work out well." There's humor in this movie, okay? That's pretty funny. But there's humor in the movie. Of course, the characters don't find it humorous, and they're not trying to be snarky or funny with slapstick humor. Unlike, and this is what I really sometimes don't appreciate about some comic book movies. The comic book movies today, you could tell they're spoofing on themselves, or the characters are spoofing on each other. And they do it in a very obvious way, and I just hate that about certain comic book movies. I hate that you can't just go ahead and tell the damn story and stop being trying to show up for the camera and be funny. We had Deadpool already. I don't need the fourth wall for every single fucking movie. Sorry about the F-bomb. I just don't need it. And in fact, I hate when there's just all this slapstick humor. I hate it. And not even trying to have situational humor. It's one kind of humor, and they bombard you with it, and they force it on you in these comic book movies, and I hate it. Okay? And I don't want to mention any comic book movies' names right now. I'm focused on one thing, and I'm singular in my discussion. But just suffice it to say, that's just something that turns me off from watching movies. That's me. Now, I was able to identify it. I understand what my problem is. But if you guys don't know what your problem is and you're just hating a movie because you're just hating it because you don't know why you're hating it, but you're hating it, then try to figure out why you're hating it. And then try to bounce the idea off of somebody else and see if they agree with you. All right, let's keep it moving. So Pick a Shade says Bruce had also lost his abducted son. Yes, that was a very sensitive very sensitive conversation that the Joker was willing to go there with Bruce about. And remember, Bruce pretty much broke up all Joker's teeth and gave him a beating of a lifetime before he put him in Arkham Asylum. That's why Joker put damage on top of his forehead. Probably beat the daylights out of that guy. Leroy Cohn says, WB are ruining DC. They're cowards and clowns. I wouldn't go that far. I believe that Warner Media, HBO Max, Jason Keeler, I know Jason Keeler's a fan of the Snyder Cut. I can tell you that. I think these people want to see the multiverse, just like Jim Lee want to see the multiverse and wants to let live. They don't want to censor or destroy the Snyderverse. So if the Snyderverse goes forward, fine. And it probably will go forward in HBO Max. There's no doubt about it, as we all saw. Restore the Snyderverse did some epic things. I mean, it's surpassed. It has surpassed every single tweet campaign for every single comic book movie ever in the history of Twitter. Right? Surpassed Endgame, surpassed every single one of them. And the reason that is so is because this is how people feel about this movie. And this is not just Snyder Cut fans or people who are fans of Zack Snyder's movie. This is mainstream. The mainstream people spoke. People who normally wouldn't watch this movie have been watching it. And more people will watch it as time goes along. But I wanted to speak mostly about singular directorial visions and why they're important to live or die by. Zack Snyder's singular direction, and of course, we're not going to get a 4-hour cut, right? The movie was going to be 214 minutes long, which would have been 3 hours and 31 minutes, which would have been able to go into the cinema. But because we pushed for Warner Bros. To release the Snyder Cut, Zack Snyder was able to now add on things and really go full Zack Snyder on everything. So he went full Zack Snyder on everything, to give us every single Easter egg, every single fan service thing he could think of, just in love for us, for what we did to allow his vision to be seen on the screen. So he went buck wild and he gave it his all. And of course, because of his daughter's death, which is, I think a lot of you guys just don't understand the context of this movie. He dedicated this film to his daughter. So as Snydery as he could possibly be, he went full Zack Snyder because of his daughter, because she died, because she was his biggest. He was his. She was his biggest fan. She loved him. He inspired her to be creative. She had the same kind of creative juices in her. But a lot of creative people are very sensitive. A lot of creative people are very moody. A lot of creative people, as you can see in the industry, even the critics, they're moody people and they have problems. A lot of creative people have mental problems. And a lot of creative people, a lot of them, give themselves over to depression and suicide very easily. All right? So it's very important to understand that. And Autumn was no different. She was struggling with the medication, struggling with the suicidal tendencies. Because remember, she was adopted. She was adopted. She's like Superman. She was adopted. Remember, it's like you've been abandoned, like an abandoned dog or abandoned cat. You understand? Zach did Owls of Ga'Hoole for her and his children, his adopted children. You understand? The man loves his daughter. And that's why he dedicated this movie to her. And it's like, I'm trying to explain to you guys where this is coming from. And why a lot of us want to see this universe restored. It's not that we don't want people to see James Gunn's Suicide Squad. James Gunn is an admirer of Zack Snyder. He loves Zack Snyder. The whole what's the movie? Brightburn was inspired by Man of Steel. Okay? Zack Snyder's a producer on James Gunn's Suicide Squad. Okay? And while I don't take to the trailer that I saw just a minute ago, it doesn't mean it's not a hell of a movie. It's just that the trailer didn't really do much for me, but that doesn't mean anything. Because that's just a trailer. That's not the movie. Do you understand? My point being that you guys got to understand, in the industry, people work together. Very recently there, Zack Snyder praised Kevin Feige for his approach to Marvel. He did. My point being, anyway, it's about love. It's about kindness. Listen, if Zack Snyder's movies do unprecedented things like it's already done, it doesn't mean that I'm against Marvel and don't want to see them do well. While I'm not the biggest Marvel fan of Marvel movies, okay, it doesn't mean that Marvel movies should never be made and they should never exist. And I hate that movie and it should never have come out. And I advise people never to watch it. That's stupid. That's me putting my personal taste in movies and trying to force other people to hate a movie I hate, which is dumb. I can understand you trying to convince somebody to like a movie that you like. But even then, you can't force people to like movies they don't like. So, it's your personal taste in movies. And if that's just not your thing, it's not your thing. If you like hee hee ha, if you like comedy movies and you like to laugh because that's where you disperse your stress or whatever, I get it. It's all right. Just know your taste in movies. So you know, Zack Snyder Justice League is just not a movie that I would watch. So you don't have to go giving a bad review to the movie. And you don't have to put a distaste in the people who like the movie's mouth. That's all I'm saying. If it's not your thing, then don't watch it. Watch things that you think are your things, that you're interested in seeing. If you're not interested in seeing, okay, if you're interested in seeing the Snyder Cut and you go and watch it and it disappoints you, fine. But you don't have to tell everybody. You don't have to tell the whole world why you hate it. All you got to say is, it's just not my thing. I can tell you why too if you want, but if you don't want to hear it, then it's okay. If that's your thing. Lots of people like James Gunn's Suicide Squad trailer. I don't. You don't see me going all around, oh man, that was the worst trailer ever. Man, no. Why would I do something like that? For what? What benefits do I get by it? Movies are supposed to entertain. People worked hard on that movie, not just James Gunn. A whole crew, a whole team worked on that movie. Why would I just go in one breath like a stupid glutton, disrespect all that hard work, and say, oh, that was a good movie. Should never go watch it. That's stupid. All I got to say is that's just not my taste in movies. But I really like Warner Bros. To release the Ayer cut. And that's it. No more. Don't need to say no more. It's not necessary. Bashing movies is not necessary. Especially movies that are not done by committee. And we know a lot of these DC movies these days are being done by committee because everybody's trying to be like Marvel. Marvel movies are done by committee, for crying out loud. They have a formula. They're trying to move away from it, but it's what it is. And all I'm saying is singular vision movies are less and less being seen these days. Where you're critiquing a choice of song or a singer. Oh, it's not great. It's not my choice of song or singer. Because the director had a singular vision. Because the director chose to use that song, knowing the significance of what he was doing. Not a committee. Because this guy is not a guy who's interested in popularity. He's interested in sharing his intimate feelings and thoughts on a screen. Maybe you align with it, maybe you don't. And that's okay. Because he's able to voice to people who don't have that voice. He's able to express to some people who will align to it and say, yes, that's how I feel. This is what I wish for to see in a movie. Finally, somebody said it. And it's a positive thing that they said. You understand? Leroy says they're wiping out the Snyderverse in the Flash movie. They're killing off Batfleck. A boycott for me. I'm not boycotting anything. If I don't know if I'm going to go see the Flash movie. I can't tell you. I'm not excited for any of the slate of movies that Warner Brothers Pictures is coming out with because of the way how they're treating the fans. And they're taking away the joy that the fans have in movies. The majority of the fans. And a lot of fans are like, what are you doing? You know? So I'm not excited for those movies, but I'm not going to boycott those movies. I'm not going to do that because clearly Ann Sarnoff is not somebody in HBO Max. Ann Sarnoff is not the person to call the shots for HBO Max original movies and how they are done or HBO Max original content. So it doesn't really matter. I loved Lovecraft. Lovecraft is crazy. I love HBO's original content. That's my kind of movie making. Filmmaking and stuff. And so I just love what HBO Max has. And, I haven't been able to look at it on HBO Max. I actually have to rent these movies out. Tenet is a great movie as well. Love it. That's my kind of taste of movies. I'm not really a comic book movie guy because, I kind of outgrew comic book movies that they're putting out these days. Zack Snyder's movies was, movies that I actually said, oh, he kind of takes comic book characters seriously. I like that. But by and large, X-Men was exciting me. New Mutants I wanted to see because I was a different take and it looked like it was going to be a horror and stuff. I was really interested in seeing how that would go and so on. Genre pushing things. W Mirror, what's up? Yo, you started live without me knowing. Tis tis and some love. I'm just playing. What's up? I'm cool, man. I'm cool. I'm doing my thing, as you can see. Lyra Khan says, Warner Brothers hates Zack Snyder. Zack is my greatest director ever. I hope Jason Keeler wins. He'll win. He'll win. Oh, come on, man. Did you see what people did on Twitter? And aren't you guys watching like the crap out of this movie? I just finished watching it last night. I was up like 3 in the morning watching or something. I can't remember what time I was up. I watched it, man. I fell asleep watching, woke back up watching it. It's great. It's a great movie. A lot of people, I heard some critics say it's not a great movie. I think it's a great movie, and that's all that matters. you know. There's something there's something to 14 times for you. You keep your track of it. I lost track, bro. All I can tell you is I rented it out the movie 3 times. Right? So the movie cost like 13 US. So I have paid for the movie like I paid now 39 US in all, which is quite a lot of money to pay for a movie, because if you were to buy like the digital copy, it's about 20 something dollars. The movie is beautiful, first of all. Visually, it's like it's gripping, but then again, different people have different points of view. Some people think because you're doing things via film, so there's the graininess in the movie, that's bad CGI and stuff. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Bad CGI? What are you talking about? And there are moments where guys talk about bad CGI and it's not even CGI. Like it's real. But hey, people can be petty, and some people just feel intimidated that Zack Snyder has such great stuff. And the sad thing about it is that there are people in Warner Brothers Pictures who trying to sabotage Zack Snyder and don't want to see him continue. And you can hear the people in the industry. One of the people who really disappoint me is the guy who did the released the Snyder Cut book, where he's going on the mantra that Zack shouldn't continue and he should go with Netflix. And I'm saying right now, listen, Zack Snyder needs to be still making DC movies, particularly his last 2 movies in the Justice League trilogy need to happen. Okay. And in addition to that, David Ayer's true vision of the Suicide Squad needs to come out. And the only reason why Warner Brothers Pictures, again, doesn't want David Ayer's Suicide Squad to come out is because James Gunn's Suicide Squad is coming out. And truth be told, they don't want David Ayer taking any flack, any shine off of James Gunn. But here's the thing that doesn't make any sense to me. All right. We had Jared Leto's Joker that was present in the DC movies. Yet we had Joker, the film that came out. Now, clearly, Walter Hamada was like, why are we having this film? That is true. But it came out and it was very successful. Right? We have a Flash in the CW. Right? We have a Barry Allen in the CW. We have a Flash and a Flash movie coming out in DC. So why is it a problem that we can have a Suicide Squad in DC movie and another Suicide Squad movie retconning, in DC? Why can't that happen? Why? Now, mind you, the Suicide Squad that we saw by David Ayer made a ton of money. Everybody forgets that. And that was supposedly the fun version that Warner Bros. Interfered in and let out. Like Joker would say, you should be ashamed of yourself. But they don't want to re-release that Joker movie because we're asking for it, the Ayer cut. They don't want to release that. But they do want to release James Gunn movie. You know what I'm saying? So the fans are asking for the Ayer cut, but they're going to give you James Gunn's movie. And I'm not, again, James Gunn's a hell of a director. And he has his way of doing movies. So I'm sure he's going to do a good job with Suicide Squad. I may not like it, or maybe I will. I don't know. I liked Guardians of the Galaxy 2, sorry. More than Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one. So maybe he does a good job with it. He seems to be having an approach more like Kick-Ass. Is it Kick-Ass? It was called the movie. The costumes and uniforms look zany and weird and colorful, and that's how he's going. All right, but my thing is, me personally, and full of jokes. It's like a comedy. Me personally, though, I want to see David Ayer's Suicide Squad. I like a little bit of my grittiness. I like the edginess. I don't get that in the James Gunn movie. It doesn't seem that way. It reminds me of Lethal Weapon, except with more colorful, uh, almost pansy-like, and just weird humor that has to do with dicks and penises and stuff that just make no sense to me. Like, that's why it's rated R. Like, okay, it's gonna be out there like that. Okay, whatever. You know. And yet we have the detractors who speak about, David Ayer's cut, there was a rapist in there and blah blah blah. And I'm like, so look, this dude's talking about penises and stuff, and y'all just letting it fly. You know what I'm saying? So is there hypocrisy out here? There's a big hypocrisy out here, and I find it sad. Leroy Kong says the greatest visual effects ever. Leroy Kong, you're funny, man. It's the way he just keeps on saying that. Man, Zack Snyder's movie, that's the greatest comic book movie ever. Actually, some critics actually share your opinion. They think this is the greatest superhero movie ever, which is interesting. But anyway, so we'll have to find out what the numbers and figures for Zack Snyder's Justice League are. But in the meantime, man, I'm just watching the crap out of this movie. I wish I could see Justice's Gray version. I would like to get all versions of the movie. Like these particular movies I'm taken to, and I'm really magnetized towards. It's like this guy knows and understands me, and he's making movies for me. That's how I feel. It's very personal. And so I really enjoy his movies. So anyway, singular movies to me are more unique. You can try to change up how a movie looks and stuff, but I just truly believe that um, it's the approach to the movie that makes a movie different. And that's why I said, like I said before, Zack Snyder's Justice League is a totally different movie to um, Joss Whedon's attempt at it. And you can tell the people who are in Joss Whedon's camp, because I've been looking at the critics, and some critics are, in Whedon's camp, so they give it rotten score for Zack Snyder's movie, as if they never saw the movie, or they signed themselves out and didn't really watch the movie. And I guess they panned it. For whatever reason, they panned it, because obviously they didn't understand it. And most of the critics who either they understand it and they decided to just put a hit piece on it for whatever reason. I think some of these people think that Zack Snyder somehow he inspires right-wing people, and so they're coming from a political perspective, and that's why they hate on his movies. It could be that, but Zack Snyder's not a right-wing person. He doesn't come from a right-wing perspective. He comes from a human perspective, and it's just really one of those things where some people just misunderstand him. Up to this day, I hear some of these critics talking about the toxic fans. And Zack Snyder, do you see what he did in the movie? It's really crazy. Where he comes to, Steppenwolf lands in this chemical, another chemical, in this nuclear plant area that is deserted. And he says, it's toxic. That's good. And I was like, whoa, Zack just, like, I don't know if that's probably since way back in 2017, but it's still sick how he did that, And it's just Zach has that, like, almost like he has this kind of premonition of what's to come. Because let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. So Joe Biden's wife, if y'all do remember, very recently she said, she likes to be called a doctor. She has a PhD. And remember, they called into question her PhD. And, were insulting to her and condescending to her. It was very interesting that the dean in Cyborg School, I'm just bringing it to your attention. And Zach likes pop culture, so he's always going to be relevant. How he does this in his movies, I don't know. Because he did this since 2017. And it comes out, that's why I said he seems to have this sort of prophetic premonition of things. Or something. Or God guides him or something. I don't know. But this movie comes out on the heels of that. This is the following year, right after they've been attacking Joe Biden's wife. The dean comes out and says, Mrs. Stone, knowing very well she is a doctor. And so she corrects him and she says, Dr. Stone. Huh? 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 A woman, and she's black. And we all know the chauvinists and the racists. First of all, the chauvinists, they attack women. That's their job, to put them down. And two, the racists will attack black people, right? To put them down. Maybe on the D-Lo on the slide, but it's amazing how she caught that real quick with the guy to put him in check, because she's both black and she's also learned. And I thought those two things were very, she was like, no, you ain't going to just slip the ball on me and just slip by me. I would have let that go with somebody else. But for you, you know I'm a doctor. I'm going to put you in check right there. And she checked him, right? Beautiful. Beautiful. And that's what I'm talking about with Zack Snyder's movies. See? And now people are beginning to see it for what it really is. And they're not seeing a facade, and they're not going to play around with it. I hear them say his movies are self-indulgent. I hear them say his movies are pretentious. These are colorful words. Self-indulgent, meaning that he's embellishing to impress, to make other people feel and give accolades and praise to him, as if he's some demagogue like Donald Trump. When you think of Zack Snyder, do you think of Donald Trump? No. No. So what do you mean by self-indulgent? What do you mean by pretentious? I went to the actual articles of some of these critics, and they just bashed nonstop the movie. Like, there was nothing positive they had to say in terms of critiquing the movie itself. They're attacking the director, constantly attacking the director because of his singularity of vision. And the funny thing about it is, that same singularity of vision, they never criticized when Ridley Scott's Raised by Wolves came out. That's Ridley Scott's singular vision, right? When Ridley Scott came out with Aliens, it was a singular vision. When George Lucas came out with Star Wars, it was a singular vision. But because you think that this guy has a certain political allegiance, you think that the Iron Rand, movie that he wants to make makes him somebody who is just somebody who cares about himself and himself alone, and pushes objectivism. And because he's not one of the boys in your little club, you're going to ostracize him and attack him as much as you can. So that's the real story behind that. And I told you, he exposes them, and he exposes Hollywood for what it is. And they don't like it. Why are they calling us a toxic fandom? Why are they calling Snyder Cut fans toxic fandom? How does a toxic fandom raise $500,000 for suicide prevention? How could that be toxic? How could it be toxic that people in this movement are pushing for creativity, pushing for true directorial vision, pushing for Feeding America, pushing for a defense of honest projection of things, pushing for true creativity, pushing for equality of treatment by both men and minorities in Hollywood? How is that a negative thing? How is that toxic? Oh, with the fans, they would go and crash WB's site saying release the Snyder Cut, or they crash some of our articles saying release the Snyder Cut. Or sometimes they vilify us for saying negative things about Zack Snyder's works. And I say, well, you started it. You started the toxicity, Hollywood. You started it. You started unfairly criticizing this guy and saying negative things about him and making jokes about him. And your toxicity comes back on you, and you blame the fans. You started it. You were toxic. And you don't want to acknowledge and take responsibility for your toxicity. I have the utmost respect for Dan Morel. Dan Morel was able to make an account for the fact that he was wrong. And yes, some of the fans went in on some people. After years and years and years of being toxic, yeah, the fans, you're going to get some blowback. But you don't want to take the blowback, right? We as fans can be called toxic. We as fans can be called negative. But when it comes to you, you're immune from all of that because you're privileged. Because you have a certain position of power where the fans dare not talk to you like that. They're supposed to beg and plead with you, just like the fans are supposed to beg and plead with Warner Brothers, not make demands. Because God forbid the fans get what they want. It changes everything in Hollywood. Now the fans dictate what happens in Hollywood. God forbid that happen. I see what they say. And guess what? It's going to happen anyway. The fans are going to get what they want. The customer is always right. You can't stop it from happening. And for those of you who have had your little power and been able, those days are over. You know when it started getting over? With the Me Too movement, which you hypocritically support. But the Me Too movement's about exploitation. It's about people taking their positions of power to edify themselves. You know who's self-indulgent? The executives of Warner Brothers, who are trying to stop Zack Snyder's vision from coming out and tell him what to do with his vision, even though he wasn't paid a single dime, not a single dime to do Justice League. They should have paid that man for all the pain and heartache and stuff that he went through with his daughter. And on top of that, what they did to his vision, they cost the company money. They want to talk about, oh, Warner Brothers put an extra $70 million on top of it to give Zack Snyder his vision. But they're the ones that screwed it up. It should come out of their paychecks. They're the ones that sabotaged him. They shouldn't even have jobs right now. They should be kicked out of their positions. Why is it that the people with power feel that they do not need to obey any principle or precept? Men with power, Batman v Superman, respect neither policy nor precept. No one is different. No one is neutral. Chris Terrio. That's what we, the fans, see. We see your hypocrisy, and we don't like it. We see the critics say, this movie is self-indulgent, and then we look at the critic and say, you're self-indulgent. You're just projecting what you are. When we hear this movie is pretentious, and then we look at the critics' article to see if there's anything of substance that is credible, that we can say he has a point there. And we see nothing. We say you are pretentious. You're projecting your pretension because you have an agenda. We don't want Zack Snyder in the DCEU. We want him to get out. And we're going to get him out of there because he's a threat. He's got too many ideas, too much imagination, and he's going to affect Marvel. You know, they always bring up Marvel. And I have nothing against Marvel. I'm talking about the mindset of these people. So, you never made a movie in your life, but you get to pen out that it's pretentious. And yet you have no point. You're just using a bunch of adjectives. I go through your entire article. And you're making fun of the movie as best as you can. Without substance, without content. You can't even tell me the proper story. At least Ebert knew how to do that. At least he could tell you what the movie was about. All your, there are puff piece editorials that they make for Marvel films, and then they put out hit piece editorials for Zack Snyder's movies. They don't even go to the extent to say, oh, this movie's provocative. It's on the borderline of edgy and wild. It seems like an exploitation movie, but actually they flip the script in this movie. They give you everything that should be in an exploitation movie. And yet, it is not about that. I'm talking about Sucker Punch. You want all baby dolls dressed up in all these skimpy little skirts. She looks like this, you know, how they say, the idealized, chauvinistic, sexist trope in appearance. But the story is anything but that. Is it not? But the misunderstanding because people hate what they don't understand. It's novel. It's singular. It's different. And people, instead of trying to understand the brilliance of difference, what do they do? They're condescending and condemn it. Gina Carano is a victim of that, as she's right-wing. But she's right about one thing, and I support her in it. People assume too much. They assume they know what you're saying. Why is she without a job in Hollywood? Yes, she may be racist. I don't know. Yes, she may support things that are Trumpian, which I don't agree with. But here's the problem. She cannot be losing her job for a misunderstanding of what she's saying. Why is she outside of The Mandalorian? Why is she without a job? Because the fans demanded it? Wait, hold on. I thought Hollywood said, oh, no, wait. We can't have the fans demanding something. And just go with that. We need to back it up now. You have to understand and sift through what the fans are saying. It's strange how they villainize the wrong fans and then they listen to other fans. They're still, Warner Brothers, Warner Brothers, is still Pictures, is still listening to those toxic fans. And they're toxic because they want to get rid of the Snyderverse. That's toxicity. The toxic fans who speak ill about the Snyderverse. Instead of focusing on their love for what Warner Brothers is doing right now. Those fans are trying to sink the Snyderverse. Tell me, which DC fan, Snyder Cut fan, is asking for Walter Hamada to go or Tommy Emmerich? You're not seeing it from us. We're only asking for the Snyder Cut to exist. I think about black people and the struggles they had in the United States of America. They just wanted to vote. To this day, states like Georgia are making draconian laws to try to restrict and have voter suppression just for people to have the right to vote. We, Snyder Cut fans and otherwise, are asking Warner Bros. To restore the Snyderverse. We're not asking for Tommy Eric's head. We're not asking for Walter Hamada's head. We're not asking for Ann Sarnoff's head. We're not asking for DC Films, to crash and burn, and we don't want to see what Warner Bros. Is doing, so axe all your content. No, we're just asking that we have a continuation of the Snyderverse. But we are toxic fans. But the toxic fans are calling for the firing of J.J. Abrams or the firing of Zack Snyder from the Snyderverse, from the DCEU, or the kicking out of Gina Carano. Those toxic fans, they're ready to listen to them because the system is still corrupt. I still see people trying to defend Josh Whedon. I see people trying to dig up dirt on Jared Leto. I see people trying to hold Ezra Miller for kicking a woman. A rabid fan who wanted to get something from him because she was pregnant or something. I see people trying to go down Mira Heard because she had a bad relationship with Johnny Depp. That's it. It happens. It's the real world. They're quick to go in on these people, but they're like hypocrites. They want to give James Gunn a pass. And he's making movies right now. Hypocrisy. Now, I'm not mad at James Gunn. I like James Gunn. I defended James Gunn. I thought he should still be making Guardians of the Galaxy 3 because you can't hold somebody accountable for their past like that. I've got no conclusive evidence on Jared Leto. I don't know too much about him. Maybe people in the industry can speak more about him. But we all know why they're doing what they're doing. Politics. Trying to gut out beautiful things that can help a lot of people. So, of course, the Snyderverse must be restored. You can't talk about the multiverse and there's no Snyderverse. Oh, well, these movies they cost a lot to make. Oh, we'll work something out, man. Work something out. The movies, they'll cut costs different places. Technology has evolved. It can be worked out. But the one thing you cannot work out, and the one thing that you will not be allowed to do, is ignore us any further as fans. We have the right to express what we want, and we will continue to do so at an even more escalated rate. And we will consume what we like. A singular director with a singular vision is a rare thing these days. We see with Christopher Nolan in his movies. We see with Zack Snyder in his movies. I'm pretty sure Patty got compromised some. She declared that that was the movie she was wanting to make, but it looks very similar to David Sandberg's movie, James Wan's Aquaman movie, the Harley Quinn movie, the Shazam movie, and now James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie. They all look very similar. They have all these jokes and these little interspersed beats and stuff like that. They don't feel organic to the directors. And don't tell me all the directors have the same directorial style. That's not true. That's studio interference. This is what the studio asked of them. You need to do this, this, this. This needs to be in there. This ingredient needs to be in your movie. And we all know this because we've seen it in the Marvel universe. So what I'm trying to say is, we want originality. We want authenticity. We want organic movies made. And that can only come from a singular director's vision without or with minimal studio interference. That's what we fought for. That's why the Snyder Cut came out. That's why it's a huge success. And it's about to become, it's going to make more history because we're going to get to 2 million tweets. Restore the Snyderverse. It's going to hit that mark. If it hasn't already. I'm Christ I Am Disciple. I hope you guys enjoyed this day. And I'm done right here. Lots of directors have singular purpose. Martin Scorsese, Sam Raimi. In fact, the very first Superman movie, which was done by Richard Donner, was a singular vision. Singular visions always trump corporate visions. Yes, they may make money, but the rewatchability of a corporate movie is less and less than something that's singular because it has a unique property in it. It is the single vision of the director. And the more uncompromised that vision is, the better the movie is. Studios, if you hire a director, be careful how you hire, what directors you want to hire. That's the first thing. But if you hire a director, let them singularly carry out their vision for the movie. Please. That's what this whole Snyder Cut fight was about. And finally, Jason Keeler, thank you, sir. HBO Max, thank you. Warner Media, thank you. AT&T, thank you for the Snyder Cut. And now all we ask you is, please, restore the Snyderverse. The first task you have in front of your hands, please release the Ayer cut. And then, well, that's almost good to go. And then, please release Justice League 2 and 3 by Zack Snyder. As to Zack Snyder, his Army of the Dead's coming up. Those of you who like that movie, are interested in it, please go watch it. I'm not as interested as some of you guys are in his zombie movies. So I'm not as hyped as it for that. But I am looking forward to Dune later on this year. And once Dune doesn't turn out to be like all those other movies that I have seen from DC of late, I definitely will be dialed in to watch it. Until then, guys. Oh, I would love to see Jared Leto's Morbius as well, if it ever comes out. If it, I really would like to see that. Jared Leto in Blade Runner 2049 was just superb. What an actor. I want to also just publicly thank right now the following people who have made the Snyder Cut possible. Zack and Deborah Snyder, of course, and all the staff and crew, as well as the actors. Ray Fisher, we support you, my brother. Also, in addition, we're talking about Ray Porter. Can't get a better Darkseid. You cannot get a better Darkseid. Man, I can't wait. I can't wait to see you in New Gods. I can't wait to see you in Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3 and wherever Darkseid shows up again. I'm looking forward to it. Oh, man, I hear Zack Snyder has the storyboards for that already. Oh, my goodness. Oh, man, that gets me excited. David Ayer's Suicide Squad. Gotta get it. It's gotta release it, Warner Brothers. Forget Warner Brothers Pictures. HBO Max. Make sure that thing gets out there. Okay. And do a good job on it. You guys do great quality Lovecraft. Judas and the Black Messiah. Oh my goodness. Tenet. Oh my goodness. Raised by Wolves. Come on now. Man, you know what I'm saying? Man, your original content is incredible, and I wish that I could, but HBO Max is supposed to come to HBO Max Caribbean. Once you because I don't have a television. I use everything on my phone. So if you can have it available on the phone for me to get access to, I will digitally download everything, subscribe, and everything like in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat, baby. So, I love HBO Max. It seems to have the content that I like and I really appreciate. Of course, Netflix also has some good content on it. I've been watching Dry Bar Comedy. Don't get me wrong. I do enjoy comedy, but I enjoy clever comedy. I enjoy hearing a discussion on topics and issues that you don't hear about every day. So Dry Bar Comedy is really good on Facebook. I enjoy watching those segments, and they don't curse and swear in that, so that's really great. Shout out to also on the cars, Ben Affleck. Oh man, Zack Snyder did you justice, brother. Man, oh man, that third act with Batman was badass to the bone. Even when he was inside there fighting down them parademons, man, Batman get on, man. Batman is a bad boy. You know what I'm saying? With his little contraptions and stuff. Henry Cavill Superman. Jeez. Henry Cavill Superman. Shoot, it was like watching, it was a live action version of the Justice League, that I used to watch at, which Superman was just so powerful, you know what I'm saying? Dope. And then we had also you know, Gal Gadot is Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot. Man, crazy. Crazy gal. Let's not forget Sierra Hines as Steppenwolf. What a much more layered character. A lot of layered stuff going on in there. Desaad. Oh man, the actor that played Desaad. I saw him in Highlander. Yeah, this brother, man, he's a great actor, great British actor, English actor. And then we have Connie Nielsen. Oh my goodness. Hippolyta. The responsibility that was on her shoulders, the loss that she suffered in one day. Oh man, so intense, the range of emotions she was giving. And of course, all the other actors who were part of the Amazons that had a role to play in the movie. And I got why the Amazon was taking her time to get towards the mother box. She was creeping in. It's because if you go and you watch the history lesson, you would see, I think it's Persephone, one of them, the Amazon, she was putting her hands over the mother box as it was undulating, and she was trying to like calm down the mother box. So when they touch the mother box, it seems to have an effect on the mother box. And so that's why she was taking her time to go there, because it's got a lot of energy and could charge a charge on you, kill you, right? So that's why when the mother box was shaking up, you saw the black Amazon. She was moving towards the mother box to touch it, but she was inching her way in. She wasn't trying to just rush in, because she could get blasted live and that would be it. So that's why she was kind of trepidatious, and you could see the level of concern on her face. And she was like, "Call the queen." She almost looked like she was trembling. Because those mother boxes, man. So I got now why she was creeping in like that, because I was wondering, like, why is she taking so long to get to the mother box? And I'm like, you know what? You don't know what that thing could do. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but the fact that all those Amazons had to die when the entire temple collapsed into the sea, but then Steppenwolf and they just burst out of there. Like the parademons didn't die from that crash. I was like, what the hell? That's kind of crazy. You know what I'm saying? That was kind of crazy, man. But yeah, you know, credit to the acting and just the level of detail that's in Zack Snyder's movies. There's points where you knew that, like, for example, Themyscira didn't look exactly like a normal, like the Themyscira we saw in Wonder Woman. It kind of looked, it looked like the ground had lawn on it instead of grass. It just kind of looked very lawny, which was kind of weird. So there are certain places where the CGI needed some touching up, but for the most part, I really enjoyed it. And then the fact that these scenes are epic and sort of mythical at the same time, kind of ordered for the CG to sort of not totally offset you and make it feel like it's an uncanny valley there. But really enjoyed this movie. That's all I got to say for now. But Singularity and movies not made by committee, I think, are much better movies. Much better movies. And of course, Marvel would like to link up with DC. We know that's the ultimate goal that Warner Bros. Is trying to go for. But in so doing, you have to understand you have a multiverse. So therefore, there are many different variations of that universe you can have. And it's ridiculous to hear Warner Bros. Say that they think that, the Justice League cut, the 2017 cut, is the cut they want to keep. It makes no damn sense to me. I know they're trying to transition and stuff, but I mean, come on now. And so it's weird how they like try to adhere to certain motifs, and you could tell that the hate for Zack Snyder came from inside. Certain executives didn't like his style of directing, and this is why we had all of this negative happening outside. I thought it was Kevin Feige and Marvel that was doing that, but no, they're still on the outside. It was people on the inside. I think Jeff Johns felt like, this is not the way our heroes should be done. Whereas Jim Lee, he's much more open to it. Especially, this is one of the weirdest things I never understood. Jeff Johns was saying this is not how heroes are done, and then he writes a comic book. He writes a comic book that literally goes like how Zack Snyder was directing his Justice League. It makes no damn sense. That's the thing about Jeff Johns that never made sense to me. I always felt it was his ego and the fact he wanted to undercut Zack. But anyway, it is what it is. Ricochet says, I'm watching Samurai Jack from HBO Nordic, and it has the same 4:3 aspect ratio, yes, sir, as the Snyder Cut. If people were okay with it when Samurai Jack originally came out, they should be okay with it now. Exactly. In fact, that's how television used to be. It used to be 4:3. The widescreen thing happened when we had widescreen TVs. And now we're reverting back to 4:3. But the 4:3, remember, you're seeing a lot more on the top and the bottom. It's a much more wider lens. And besides that, this was supposed to be an IMAX. So I never quite understood why people were making a big. I love the 4:3 actually because I can see so much more than, and I'm watching it on a phone, which is a very small screen, but I love the 4:3. I would love to see it in IMAX, and Zach's having some views in IMAX for charity, but I just really truly hope that eventually HBO Max will put it out in theaters. Literally, when the theaters come back, it gets put back into theaters. And if Zach wants to raise it for charity, but some of the money needs to go back to HBO Max, you know what I'm saying? HBO Max, you about to make some serious bank if you ain't making serious bank right now. The fact that HBO Max ain't even putting out the they ain't putting out the results. They ain't making bank, okay? Right now, Zack Snyder's Justice League for a whole week or so has been the #1 movie on Google Play. The #1 movie on Apple TV. Okay? The #1 movie on HBO Max. Okay? And come on now. Come on now. This is the second week. The second weekend. So let's see what happens with the second weekend results. And we're gonna find out some more about this movie. You know what I'm saying? But we need to keep on restoring the Snyderverse. A lot of people are watching a movie that did not ever doesn't even like Zack Snyder's movies and stuff. And I'm seeing them writing articles saying, man, I was wrong about this movie. This is good. This is a good movie, and I want a sequel and stuff. So a lot of people are coming around to seeing Zack's movies, and that's great. I mean, I would ask them to go back and watch BVS now and Man of Steel based on what you saw with Justice League 3 and see the connectivity and understand what Zack was actually doing. One person said after 2 movies or after 3 movies, Zack finally gets heroes. And I'm like, no, dude, he always got heroes. But he had to put them through a baptism of fire before you could see them as they are, because they were evolving. They were becoming what you wanted them to be. And for some reason, they just couldn't get that. They got it with The Dark Knight. They got it with Batman Begins. But for some reason, when it comes to Superman or Batman, the later end of Batman's life and career, all of a sudden, it's something different. And it's funny to me. But anyway, guys, I spent almost 2 hours talking to you guys about Zack Snyder's Justice League. How it impacted me and the singularity of a director. And some people will like it, some people don't like it, but most people like it, which is great. And we need more movies like this in theater and otherwise. It's clear that these movies are lacking, particularly in the superhero genre. Shane McKnight or whatever his name is, he did the Split and Glass, and he did Unbreakable, and all those movies were great, in my opinion. And again, you have to understand what the story is telling you and what it means. And it's beautiful what he, Shane McKnight or whatever his name is, did. So I will just leave it there. I'm going to wrap it up right here. I hope you guys enjoy this content. I see some people continuously watching this content, and go spread the stuff to the other people. Restore the Snyderverse. We keep it blazing. We're going to keep it blazing until somebody in HBO Max and Jason Keeler starts to give the green light that, hey, these movies are coming out. Until then, we blaze the fire, keep the fire burning. I love you guys. Much love to you guys. I appreciate you guys. And I hope you guys stay around for a long time. God be with you guys. God bless. I'm out. Peace.